Welcome back, guys, to the 1821 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Meyer, alongside Fernando Sucre today. We got a big day today. Mizzou football takes the field for the first time against FCS school, aka preschool opponent, Central Arkansas. Not much to say about the Bears. They were 6-6 last year. They're an FCS team. They have a good run game. That's about all I know. I don't know much about Central Arkansas. But Fernando, how do you feel about today? What are you kind of looking for from the Tigers?
Well, honestly, a rival is a rival, and I'm of the belief always respect who you're playing. But at the same time, there's a reality of the level of the rival. So I think to answer your question, what I'm looking for is what everybody's looking for is a definitive answer on who the starter is. So I'm hoping we can get a response from that. I'm also looking to see how the defensive line works today. I know we went to the press conference last week, and it seemed like there was a lot expected from them. So I'm curious to see how they perform.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that leads us into our next point, right? I was making this video a couple days ago talking about, okay, what should we expect out of Bo Pribula and Sam Horn in this opening game? We don't know how the interchange is going to work, right? Well, Pete Thamel, tweeted out a tweet as I was making that video that Bo Pribula was going to start the first half, play that entire half. Sam Horn's going to play the second half. Now, they did this in 2023 with Brady Cook and Sam Horn, and we learned pretty quickly on that it wasn't really much of a competition. I don't know if that's going to be the same thing this year. I guess we'll see. Learning about Eli Drinkwitz, who he is as a coach, it gives me some inclination to believe that Bo Pribula is the starter, that he has the lead, and that Sam Horn has to win that job from Bo Pribula. But we don't really know that, right? Because Drinkwitz at Tiger Talk recently said that his decision was just made because he has to trot out someone first, right? Just so happens that guy's Bo Pribula. So we'll see. They offer something differently, right? Bo Pribula, more of a running quarterback, right? Can use his legs really, really well. Brady Cook was kind of a scrambler. He wasn't really a pure runner. Bo Pribula definitely is a pure runner, and he can throw the ball. It's an underrated part of his game, but he's certainly not known for it. You bring in Sam Horn in the second quarter, 6'4", 220. He's more of a pocket passer. He can use his legs, but that's definitely not his strength. His strength is throwing the ball all over the field, plays baseball, got a lot of different arm angles. The way he throws, got good touch. So I'm excited to see both guys play. How do you feel about Bo and Sam, respectively, and who do you think will end up being the starter going into week two?
So, this is one of those opportunities where I need to separate my fan brain with my critic brain. And I think from the fan perspective, I've always been of the school of thought like, hey, Sam Horn did his time and it's time for him to start. But then from the analytical side of my brain, if Pribula tends to be the better fit for the offense, so be it. Like whatever gets him to win games. So I think ultimately, whoever gets the job, my only thought is it's for someone that can help us win games.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for about 2 weeks, me personally, I kept hammering this idea of I think Sam Horn's going to be the starter. And recently, my mind has shifted a little bit. Um, I really want to see Sam Horn start. That's the fan brain in me. I've seen Sam Horn be in this program for 3 years. He's waited for his opportunity. I think he's more than capable to start at the SEC level. Now, we don't have a lot of film on that. I can't really add a bunch of evidence to that.
Right.
But he came out of high school, a heralded recruit, 4-star, played with Travis Hunter in high school, and he was recruited by many, many Power 5 schools. So I do believe in Sam Horn. I think he can be really good. But obviously, they brought in Bo Pribula to start. You
Right.
pay a guy
Right.
$1.4 million, you're bringing him in to start. So I think Bo Pribula will likely be the starter. But I do want to see how Sam Horn plays today. I think Bo's going to get a huge ovation. I'm excited to see how the fans receive it as well, if they're going to be supportive of both guys. Um,
I agree, and I think the other thing I think about too is with this new transfer rules. Um, I think we're generally speaking on the college football side of it. the quote unquote loyalty to the school has diminished a lot, and I think Pribula coming in to to start, part of me thinks like, well, Sam Horn had that loyalty to Mizzou, and he had the opportunity to move as needed, but he stayed. And I think for me, on the fan brain, I think about like, well, I want someone to lead my team that I feel like it some level of loyalty towards the school. But ultimately, to your point, if Bo is going to help us win games, so be it.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of the last point about the quarterback situation, you know, I mentioned this in the video that I was making that I didn't release. I think Joey Van Zimmerman, he writes for Tigers on SI. I got a lot of respect for him. He does great work. You guys should go check him out. He said it best. I mean, you get two guys that throw for 5 for 12 and 12 for 12. The 5 for 12 guys make some crazy good throws, like impressive NFL caliber throws, but he's inconsistent. And the guy that's 12 for 12 doesn't do anything flashy. Drink is picking the 12 for 12 guy.
Hmm.
So I think what it boils down to is who's going to be the most consistent and efficient moving the offense down the field. It's not about making the crazy plays. Drink often says, don't be a celebrity quarterback, which simply just means, hey, we want guys that are going to come in there and be battlefield commanders, which just simply also means, hey, make the right reads, make the right decisions, don't turn the ball over. And that's what Brady Cook was so good at many times in his career here. He had his ups and downs, but he didn't make a lot of turnovers. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions. So despite him not being a flashy quarterback, that's what led him to being one of the most winning quarterbacks in the school history. Um, Moving on, though, to the other position that a lot of people have questions about is the O line. I think it's funny that a lot of people, including myself, are pretty high on this Missouri team. I think the talent of this team is really impressive. The depth is really impressive, but the two most important position groups on the team are the ones with the most questions. We've learned that the offensive line has a new five, a completely new rotation. Caden Green got moved to left tackle. Curtis Pigler at right guard. Keegan Trost at right tackle. Connor Tollison stays at center. You have Dominic Giudice, the transfer from Michigan, over at left guard. How do you expect this Tigers offensive line to play today? And do you think we can learn a lot from them as a unit, whether that be good or bad?
I think we can. I think I feel good about the O line. And to me, when I think about offensive linemen, the natural progression is from you start a guard, and the better you get at your position, you move to the tackle position. And moving Green to the left tackle made sense to me on that thought process. Um, I don't think we can learn a lot this game just because of the rival that we have. Again, respect the rival for sure, but I don't think a lot of answers can we can see today. But going through the season, I feel confident about it. I think there has been a lot of questions about it because we have our new running back, and with the possibility of thinking about being a rushing leader in the SEC, I think a lot of fans was like, well, I need my O line to be right for him, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I'm pretty high on the O line actually. I think they could be a really good unit. But obviously there's concerns there. Curtis Pigler, right guard, hasn't really played any college snaps, anything meaningful at least. Keegan Tross, right tackle, comes in from Wake Forest. Giudice from Michigan. So a lot of transfers, a lot of new guys that haven't played many snaps. So it's going to be interesting to see how they gel for sure. I think it's kind of one of those things where if they play really well, a lot of people will just say, hey, it's Central Arkansas. But if they play really bad, that's a lot of red flags that are, coming into my head and a lot of fans' heads. But on the opposite side of the ball is where it gets really exciting when you talk about the D line. Drink has praised the front seven all throughout fall camp. It's every time you ask him about it, he lights up, right? And he seems to be very high on this group. They're talented, they're deep. I think that's probably the strongest point of the defense is the D line and the edge rushers, as well as the linebackers that come with that. and Dalen Carnell at the star position, which is kind of that linebacker safety hybrid. What do you expect out of the Tigers D line today? And do you think there's a number of sacks that they would have to achieve for you to be like, okay, like this unit's really, really good?
I expect dominance. I think I expect multiple sacks, and I want to see the opposing quarterback uncomfortable. I want to see some forced throws from the D line. Reading in between the lines, one of the things Drake mentioned in the press conference is he wants to be able to pressure the quarterback without any exotic blitz. And my thought process is the way I read that was more like, okay, he's going to rely on the D line to set the pace for the rest of the defense. And when you look at our schedule this season, I can see a lot of good, high level quarterbacks, and at the collegiate level, I always think pressure is always the answer that would allow us to control the way they're going to perform in the season. So we can get this right on the defensive side. I feel good about it.
Yeah, I mean, Drink was on the True Sons podcast. For anyone that doesn't know, that's a podcast that features guys like Jeremy Macklin, Sean Weatherspoon, guys that have played at Mizzou. Drink was recently on there, and he said one of the weaknesses of the defense last year, which is funny because the defense was a top 20 unit in the country. One of the weaknesses in that unit was that their pass rush wasn't that great, and it would allow a lot of time for guys to be in coverage man to man. And when you're in coverage man to man for 5 or more seconds, your guy's probably going to get open. And that's one thing that Drink emphasized this fall camp was they want to see more pressure out of that D line. Like Fernando said, not using any exotic blitzes. They want to see the front four be able to get to that quarterback. That's what makes a good unit. You don't have to send 6 or 7. You can send 4, and they can still get pressure on an offensive line of 5. Moving on though, another funny thing, really, is not rushing the field. So Mizzou announced, and it came from their official Twitter account. I thought this was really funny. It's really funny, actually. They said, we will not be rushing the field, and the reason why is because if Tiger fans rush the field, their opponent will get $500,000. I thought that was a little silly because you play Kansas week 2, and we both know that if Missouri beats Kansas, they're going to rush the field. And it's not because Missouri is an inferior team. I actually think Missouri is quite a ways better than Kansas. That's not to discredit KU. I don't like Kansas. I'm a Mizzou fan, but I will say Kansas has come a long way, and they're definitely turning a new leaf as a program. I respect them a lot. I think it's going to be a tough game. But they're going to rush the field if you beat Kansas. That's your biggest rival. You haven't played them in football in 13 years. You also think about games like Alabama. Okay, what if you upset Alabama at home? You expect fans not to rush the field? Are 10 security guards going to stop, 5,000 incoming students flooding the field? The answer is no. But yeah, the university is trying to stop that. I get it from a money standpoint, but the best part of college athletics is watching those moments.
Agreed.
Whether it be Missouri beating Kansas in basketball last year, storming the court, right? That was awesome. That's what makes college athletics special. That's why a lot of people tend to prefer it over professional sports. Is the atmospheres are just so much better. They're different, and they're unique. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that is a thing this season. Whether Mizzou does choose to rush the field, I wouldn't blame fans. If I could rush from the press box, I probably would, but I will not be doing that, obviously. But moving on into Fernando's specialty, right? A lot of you may know I'm a Jets fan. I don't know much about the Chiefs. This guy knows a lot about the Chiefs, and he loves them. So, kind of going into it, right? Rashid Rice recently got some suspension news. He accepted his 6 game suspension, so he'll be missing a couple key games. Not really too familiar with the Chiefs' schedule. I don't know what those games may be, but that's obviously big news because Rashid Rice kind of became this safety blanket for Patrick Mahomes in that offense, whether it be on drag routes, curl routes, anything short. Rashid Rice was dominant after the catch. He's become one of the top receivers on that roster. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects their offense. I know their receiving room isn't incredibly deep nor top heavy in talent. I don't know how that's going to affect them, but Fernando, if you want to offer your thoughts on that and how it affects the Chiefs through those first 6 games.
So for the first 6 games, there's a couple games that I've kind of highlighted that I wish we had them. And the first one I think about is week 2 against the Eagles. I know obviously they beat us in the Super Bowl, and we would have liked to have a full team. And then the other game I can think of is we're playing the Baltimore Ravens, and they're always in the discussion for a Super Bowl run. And I think I think there's a lot of youth in the wide receiving group. I'm sorry, and I think we'll be okay. And what I like about the way Andy Reid and Brett Veach has built their team is they're only they have multiple ways of winning games. Like Patrick Mahomes does not need to throw 400 yards to win a game. They can run the game. They can run the ball. They can play great defense, and we have those things, And I'm not gonna say we're gonna go 6-0. I'm not promising that, but what I can say is we're gonna focus in different ways of winning. I know Pacheco's back from his injury, and report from camp seems that he is fully back on. I know we have Kareem Hunt coming back again, and we got a couple of good role players, and I've heard that Kelsey's back in shape, so I'm hoping we can have another big year for him. So I think there's other ways of winning the game, and yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, shout out Travis Kelce, by the way, getting engaged to Taylor Swift. I know the Swifties are very excited about that one. Um, Not to mention, man, it's funny because no matter who in the receiver room, like who's in that room for the Chiefs, no matter who it is, Patrick Mahomes can make them look good. I could walk across the street and find a homeless man, get him on the Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes would probably still manage to make him look fairly decent. So I don't think it matters, you know, who's in that room.
Hmm.
Even if Rashid Rice is missing, I don't think the Chiefs are going to suffer too greatly. I think you're obviously going to miss him quite a bit, but they're going to be just fine. And nobody talks about it, but their defense has been so good for the last like 5 or 6 years. I mean, under Spags, they've been tremendous, pretty much a top 10 unit every season, and nobody talks about it because Patrick Mahomes and that offense tend to be so good that the defense gets overlooked. Their D line has consistently been pretty good. Their secondary, their linebackers. I'm not saying they're an elite defense. I don't think they're an elite defense, but I do think they're a very, very good unit, and they get slept on a lot. And that's one way that they've been able to win games, especially last season, where the offense arguably underperformed, and the defense was still good enough to hold teams to like 17, 20 a game, which allowed that offense to do just enough. And they ended up making the Super Bowl, obviously. So we'll see what the Chiefs do there. Kind of the last point, unless you have anything else about the Rashid Rice situation, unless you want to add anything.
No, not really. I think, and to your point, I feel like one of the DNAs of a dynasty and is whenever old players tend to come back to their old teams. I think about Schmidt Schuster when he first got signed by the Chiefs. He had an awesome year, and then he went away to New England to get paid, and that did not work out. So he came right back, and he became a role player. And now, reading the news, Clyde Edwards-Helaire got re-signed by the Chiefs, and then McCall Hardman got signed again. And I was talking to you off camera, and I was laughing about it because last year it didn't work out with Hardman and the Jets, and then Chiefs picked him right up. And then this last off season, he got signed by the Packers. He did not make the team, and then the Chiefs picked him right back up. And I think about with New England, whenever the Brady glory years, what you were saying about he could bring in any wide receiver and make him look amazing. And I think we're at this point with the Chiefs that Mahomes is able to do that for them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think bringing in McCole Hardman is an interesting move. I think it could pay off in some ways. Not saying McCole is gonna have an 1,000 yard season or even a 500 yard season, but I think he's good for a couple hundred, maybe a TD or two on a deep ball. But that move interests me. The Clyde Edwards-Helaire move didn't make much sense. I think they added him to the practice squad. I could be wrong. I don't see a place on the team for him. I don't know much about the Chiefs, but there's just not much room in that running back room for him. I'm very high on Isaiah Pacheco, and I think Kareem Hunt still got a little bit in him for sure. I mean, if you're averaging 3 to 4 yards a carry, you're a solid NFL running back, and that's what Kareem Hunt does. Um,
Well, and there has been some ESPN reports that Brett Veach was shopping around trying to look for another running back, and I think the same way you do. We have great depth in the running back room, but then I think about the way Pacheco plays. Like everybody jokes about how he runs like he's mad with the ground, and there's a long history of players that tend to be very physical but have a short career. And I think, like with anybody, your biggest strength is going to be always your biggest weakness because of the way Pacheco runs. And I hate to say it, he most likely will be injured more often than any other running back. And I think Brett Veach recognizes that. So recognizing that and knowing he has a deep bench for that, I can get behind that thought process.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see the Chiefs this year. I think they're going to have a really good year. I think they're set up for um, a playoff run per usual. I mean, I think it's ignorant to say they're not. I mean, they have been every single year. Um,
Listen, I want the trilogy. I want the Eagles again. I
yeah,
want that trilogy.
I think it could be really interesting. I think again, like not to give my opinions too much on the AFC West, but that division is going to be a lot of fun to pay attention to this year. I think the Chargers are a decent team. I don't think they're going to win the division or anything, but they're a decent team. But I'm extremely high on the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to be really really good this year. Watching games between the Broncos and the Chiefs is going to be something you'll want to sit down and have a snack for sure. Um,
It's gonna be great because I feel like iron sharpens iron, and I think those tough games are gonna prepare both of them for like deep playoff runs for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I'm pretty excited, but kind of ended off, man. Like I know that Mizzou's going to win this game by probably 30 or more, but
Well, let's respect our rivals.
I'm not I'm not too worried about it. You know, give me your score prediction for today. Whoever gets closest wins. Just a fun game of bragging rights here.
All right. I'm thinking Mizzou 37, Central Arkansas 17.
Okay, I'm gonna go Mizzou 45, Central Arkansas 10. 45-10. I think the spread on this game is 36.5, I believe. I don't think Mizzou
Whoa.
covers. Um, but I do think it's going to be a pretty convincing game. And I think Central Arkansas's touchdown is probably going to come from garbage time. I don't think they're going to score on this first team defense, let alone pass midfield often.
What about predictions on who will be the starter
Oh,
at
gosh.
quarterback?
I think it's Pribula.
Yeah.
I just I don't think there's a world in which I can say it's Sam as much as I want to. Like Sam's gonna have to go out tonight. Like first of all, you're gonna have to have Bo play kind of honestly mid, right?
Mhm.
Bo will have to play mid. He'll probably have to make some really dangerous throws, maybe an interception. And Sam's gonna have to come out there and play amazing,
Right.
right? So again, like I'm sure Drinkwitz doesn't factor in politics. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But again, it comes down to the money, right? Sam Horn's making a lot of money, don't get me wrong. He's one of the highest earners in NIL on the team, but you brought in Bo Pribula to start,
Right. Right.
right? So that's the part that gets me. That's what holds me back from saying Sam. I think it's Bo. I think they're both 1A and 1B. That's a good thing. I think Drink is being truthful. I think we have two really solid quarterbacks. So God forbid one of them gets hurt. You have one of the other guys come in and do just as well. So I'm saying 45-10. Mizzou, you said 37-17. So we'll see how that shapes up tonight. I'll come out with an article after the game. Might do a little video as well after, just to kind of break down the quarterback performances, the offensive line, things we've already talked about. But very excited for football, especially on Saturday, man. We got some good games on
It's
Saturday.
gonna be good. It's gonna
So,
be a good day.
yeah. But yeah, go ahead and sign off, and I will be with you guys later tonight for some writing.
All right. See
Cool.
you guys.